And welcome back to Intelligent Ignorance here on New Twist Radio's YouTube channel. I am Jay Chris, and that is Mr. R. Hunter in the flesh,
Was
the star of the
good.
show. And we are back for another episode of Intelligent Ignorance here on video. We've stepped our
Yeah.
game up a bit, I guess you could say.
It's been
Stepped
a
our
it's been a long time coming. People used to only get to see the face that I have for radio.
Well, yeah, but now they can see exactly who you are, exactly who I am. We had our emojis up back in the day, but
Right.
it is what it is.
Technology, man. Things change.
Technology definitely changed, and we got to change with it. Just a reminder, you can catch all the shows from New Twist Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Excuse me. You can catch it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon, all like that. Catch Intelligent Ignorance. Any show that you missed of Intelligent Ignorance, you can catch us there. Also, follow New Twist Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at New Twist Radio, as you can see right there. Follow
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
R. Hunter on the gram at R. Hunter, and follow me on the thing right there, Jay Watson Radio Man. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Now, now that we got all that out,
Oh, get all the business out of the way.
now that we got that out the way, as I like to start all my shows, I like to start all my shows a certain way, and this is not going to be any different. Mr. R. Hunter, how have you been since the last we've been on air? I'm thinking last time we actually were on the air together, I think it was during the 10-7 show.
Yes, that was it.
For the fellas night, men's night. If you haven't checked
We
that
had
out,
men's night.
definitely go ahead and check that out, especially right here on YouTube. But how have you been, brother?
Man, I'm adjusting to this pandemic world. Everything's getting shut down again. Uh, I'm waiting to see if we're going to be on national lockdown, global lockdown. Uh, I sparked a little bit of a panic, and I don't know if I actually sent you the movie preview for Songbird,
You
but
sent me something. Yeah, you did. I think you did. And it's like a
and
pandemic and that whole thing.
yeah, so it's based on COVID-23, and it's when I tell you, but it looks so it looks so feasible.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody that I sent it to hit me and they were in a panic. And I'm like, hey, you guys, it's a movie, relax. But
what did they think it was?
I don't know what people thought it was. And I think, a lot of it stems from the current panic that everybody's in. It's just the level of panic where we are with a president who doesn't want to give up power. It seems like we're headed to a point where something like that movie isn't too far-fetched. But it's also the hysteria that Hollywood seems to cause. And I was having a conversation with somebody about back in the day, it was towards the height of the global warming pandemic, Al Gore and all of his, global warming stuff. And they released The Day After Tomorrow, which is still one of my favorite movies. But it gave a harsh reality of how the climate could shift if, in fact, we don't begin to adjust to what's going on and all of these natural disasters. We see, like this year, it's been the busiest hurricane season ever on record. And it's a direct result of how we treated our environment. So I think that when people see certain things in movies and in Hollywood, it's so much more of a foreshadowing of what is to come and not so much of this is all just fantasy anymore. It's not Star Trek. It's not, Lord of the Rings. This is modern day times and these are modern events. And now it seems so real.
Absolutely, it does. But still the question remains, like, what do people think you were sending them? Would they think you were sending them live coverage from the front lines of whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like there was literally a couple flyovers and all like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I ain't judging, I don't do no judging here, but when I saw it, I knew it was a preview. But what I thought was, because I think a couple days, either the day before, maybe the same day, maybe a couple days before, you had mentioned to me, we were talking on the phone, you had mentioned to me a movie that I think was on Netflix. about a pandemic or something that came out a few years back or something, whatever it was, Contagion or whatever it might have been. I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was. And I thought that's what you were sending me, but it ended up being something
Ah,
totally different. But
okay.
with all that being said, you're watching Intelligent Ignorance here on the New Twist Radio YouTube channel with myself and Mr. R. Hunter. We got a few things we want to talk about today. We got we're bringing back the You Big Dummy Award. You guys can remember that from New Twist Radio, from the New Twist show, and from our early days of Intelligent Ignorance. And we're also going to talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 30-year anniversary show, 30-year reunion show. We got some things we're going to talk about at that, but one of the biggest, I guess, things from the week that was for the culture was the Jeezy versus Gucci versus battle. Okay, and our dad said we got to talk about this, so he said we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the Jeezy versus Gucci battle, and a lot of what people may not know if they're not from the area, right? A lot of things. There's a lot that goes into it that if you have not lived there or you don't know the backstory, that
Oh yeah.
you might have missed some things.
Yeah. And being somebody who lived in Atlanta for a period of time, it wasn't a long period of time, but Atlanta was my home for about 4 years. And when you live somewhere like Atlanta, you have no choice but to get immersed in the culture. So I became a fan of Atlanta music. And not to say that I wasn't in the past, but you usually hear the more commercial stuff. So, living in Atlanta, it was more man, and I was front row at the Dungeon Family reunion. Like huge.
Speaking of which,
Outcast, Goody Mob, like
speaking of which, I heard Goody Mob put out another album recently.
just dropped a new album.
Gotta check
Yes,
that
make
out.
sure you check that out.
Y'all make you remember people don't dance no more. People don't dance no more. All they do is this. And then who was it? Soul Food.
See,
Remember Soul Food from Goody Mob.
yes,
Who's that peeking through my window? Goody Mob.
wow,
Nobody now. But so
classics.
with all that culture going on down there, the Gucci versus Jeezy.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're talking about it is, the versus is for the culture. They've had battles with Teddy Riley and Babyface,
Oh yeah.
Kirk Franklin and was it Fred
Fred
Hammond?
Hammond.
I think it was
Yep.
Fred Hammond. They had
Monica,
Monica and Brandy. They've had Patti LaBelle and
Anita.
no, it
Was
wasn't
it
Anita.
Anita?
No, it
Who
wasn't
was it?
Anita. It was doggone it. Why am I'm having a brain fart because I was just looking at it earlier. It was
Gladys.
Gladys. Thank you. It was Gladys Knight.
Gladys
Patti
Knight.
LaBelle and Gladys Knight. And Dionne Warwick came out and they sung some songs together and all like that.
Yeah.
One of the first ones I remember watching, of course, the first it started with Timberland
And Swiss.
and Swiss. One of the more memorable ones for me personally was the RZA and I'm having all these brain farts today.
I was about to say you're drawing a lot of blanks today,
Yeah,
man. You did.
who
Did
was
you
it?
did you not take your notes before the
No,
show? In our
no.
production meeting, we go over these
No, I
things.
didn't, and we didn't talk about that. But anyway, let's get back to Jeezy versus Gucci. What was your take on that?
Man, I mean, it was a epic night for hip hop, especially for Atlanta hip hop.
I think it was the epic night for Atlanta hip hop.
For Atlanta hip hop. And I think, so many people miss out on the commercialization of hip hop that they miss out on a lot of good music. And the two of them combined have tons of hits. And this particular verses, it had 1.8 million concurrent IG views, which is huge. It had 126 million likes during that stream. It had 2.3 million additional viewers on Apple Music. Like they had 7 billion online impressions. So just to see what Atlanta hip hop did that night, it was huge. And I don't think as many people culturally know the long time battle between Gucci and Jeezy because and it stemmed back to street stuff. It wasn't music stuff. It was street stuff.
Mm.
It was some violence, and it ended up with some individuals dying. Uh, that's how real it got between those two in their camps.
And it was mentioned during during the
Whew,
versus battle.
was
It
it
was mentioned
ever?
previously, and then there was the song that mentioned it was front and center. First song that Gucci played.
Gucci came out ready to throw blows, and
Mhm.
so many people got caught up
For Gucci, it
in.
was a battle.
For Gucci, it was a battle. It
Mhm.
wasn't a night about culture. It wasn't a night about music. It was, I'm coming at you, and this
Mhm.
is between me and you. This is our beef.
Right.
And I'm sure you saw a ton of the posts online. Everybody was saying, hey, this is Jeezy wiped the floor with it. And from a traditional standpoint of looking at a catalog of hits, it's easy to say Jeezy won it.
And Jeezy
It's
should have.
it's easy to say that.
Mhm.
Now, my view is a little different than a lot of people on it because one, I got to live in Atlanta for a period of time and I got to see that Atlanta culture. So it's very different. When you look at this battle or this versus, I was looking at it from a different perspective because a lot of people said, well, who won? And I said, they both won. And I think you and I had a little bit of that conversation because I said, Jeezy came into it as a chess match and he won the chess match. Gucci came into it as a checkers match and he won the checkers match. On the personal level, going at each other, Gucci had him. And it was, you could tell Jeezy was unbothered by the personal attacks because he wanted to move past that where he is in his life. But for Gucci, it was about getting those feelings out. And I think it was about getting those feelings out publicly, and it was about getting them out on a large scale because the beef was Atlanta beef. So you don't know the backstory in Philly. You don't know the backstory in LA. You don't know the backstory in Detroit. You know the backstory in Atlanta
Mhm.
because it's your backyard. So personally, it was a win for Gucci on that level because he got that animosity out. He got his feelings out. He got out all of that emotion of here's the result of you sending goons to kill me. And I mean, that's really what the backstory came down to.
Mhm.
And for Jeezy, it was, I'm going to show my growth. I'm going to show where I am as not only as an artist, but where I am now as a man and how much I've grown from TM 101 to now the recession 2. I'm going to show you where I'm at. It was an instance where Gucci had said, he has $5 million worth of jewelry on and he has a $10,000 outfit on. And he talks about Jeezy. And Jeezy said, well, that's cool, but I own half of Atlanta. Let's
Mhm.
talk about real estate.
Let's talk about property.
Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it just showed how separated they are in his mind and their mindsets. It was still very so personal for Gucci as it should have been. And I can't say as a man, that's like saying, you know, you send somebody to kill me. And now I'm sending them back to you in a body bag. And me and you haven't had any communication for 15 years. And Jeezy kept saying 20 years, and Gucci was like, no, it's 15 years. He knew exactly the timeline because he held those feelings in. You don't throw that at somebody who's held those feelings in. They know. I'm sure Gucci could say it was 15 years, 8 months, 3 weeks, 22 days, 17 minutes, and 37 seconds since I put your man in a body bag. I'm sure he could get right down to the moments because for him, it was really that personal. So when we talk about who won and who lost from a pure music standpoint, everybody knew commercially Jeezy had way more hits than Gucci. So from that standpoint, it wasn't a question. But from Atlanta and the culture of the music down south, Gucci is huge, and there were so many hits that I heard while I was down south, and that I still heard once I came back, that he didn't even play on the verses because his catalog was so personal. The music that he was playing was set up to attack Jeezy in a certain way.
Mm.
And Jeezy was like, look, I'm just gonna come out and play these hits. And at one point Gucci said, hey man, stop playing old stuff from 2005. And Gucci said, I got hits from 2005 that's killing your stuff now. So
let me jump in here real quick, because
right.
you said a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm just thinking about, first of all, first thing, I'm basing this off of what you, because I didn't personally watch the entire, but I seen little clips. Off the first thing you said, Jeezy won the battle.
Right.
And here's why. Just based off what you said. Anytime you're talking to somebody and you say they're playing chess, you're playing checkers, you're talking about that they're not playing the same game as you. They're playing a far more advanced, sophisticated game than you are.
Right.
And the assumption is made that you couldn't compete in a game of chess if you all you worried about is checkers. So just based off that from your conversation, Jeezy wins that battle, right? But then I think about it on another standpoint. You talk about how it's been said, documented, whatever the case may be, that Jeezy sent some guys over to take care of Gucci. Gucci took care of one of the dudes, whatever the case may be. 15 years ago, I'd have been like, ooh, and then you bring this, yeah. The age I am now, I'm like, it doesn't mean that much to me.
Well, but you also got to think
anymore.
But I think it's a different mindset of when you send somebody to kill somebody.
Absolutely. Like, but what I'm saying is, he held on to that for so long, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong for holding on to it. That's something that's going to sit with you and live with you for. If you have to play God and take someone's life, all right, as a person, speaking from a person that's never done it, I've never done it. I talk about somebody with a break into my house, and I got, you know what I'm saying? Once you have to play, once you are in the point to where you have to decide whether this man lives or dies, or this person lives or dies, that's a position that not a lot of people have ever been in life. And a lot of people say, I'd shoot that. You come through my house, I'm shooting the bloom, this, that, and the third. A lot of people have not been in that position. That's not a comfortable position to be in.
Oh no.
There have been like you served in the military.
Right.
I've been in situations where it was like a fight or flight situation, and I've gotten into a fight or whatever the case may be. Now I got to decide: am I going to beat this dude? Am I going to beat him to death? Am I going to beat him to an inch within his life? Am I going to beat him to a point where he's going to know not to come around my way?
Right.
That's the decision you got to make. Now I've never had to make that decision with a firearm in my hand.
Right.
It's a different
it's a big difference. Big difference.
Type of decision. So when we talk about, Gucci had killed one of the goons, good for him because he was able to stay alive, right? But I'm not there anymore. I'm not there anymore for that to matter to me. I think when we started the New Twist show, I was there. I think I was there then. Now it's kind of like, as a fan, I'm saying it doesn't matter to me anymore.
Right.
It doesn't. But with all that being said, the fact that Jeezy reached out to Gucci to kind of almost in a sense show him where he is now in his life, probably knowing that Gucci was still holding on to some of that stuff. Right. I think that's big for Jeezy. The fact that Gucci came, and I don't know this, the behind the scenes, but the fact that Gucci came to do this without that, what I can tell is the intentions of hurting somebody. That's big for Gucci as well.
Right.
because you know that you're going to be face to face with somebody that literally tried to kill you.
Right.
I don't know if I could be that person. I don't know if I could. It's hard enough for me to be in front of somebody that owe me money. You try to kill me? Come on, man. We might have we're definitely gonna have a bigger issue. Like I don't know if I
Oh
can
yeah.
let that go. And Gucci didn't really let that go. But in all honesty, in all fairness, I'm personally not the biggest Gucci fan. Just not.
Right.
Jeezy, Jeezy. I like Jeezy. I've liked Jeezy since the Boys in the Hood days. Um,
See, and I think that has a lot to do with the commercialization of the music, because Gucci was never mainstream. I couldn't tell you 5 Gucci radio songs. So if you're not in Atlanta, you don't really know Gucci's music. Like I can tell you, so the No Sleep intro is probably one of my favorite album intros ever
mm,
from Gucci. And I'm probably one of 10,000 people outside of Atlanta that know it, because it wasn't one of those commercial works. It wasn't everywhere.
right.
But when you live in that culture and you're there and you get it, like it's a huge difference. It's almost like being from where we are. If you ask somebody about a Meek Mill mixtape, like people in Cali don't know about Meek Mill mixtapes. People in Atlanta don't know about a Meek Mill
Well,
mixtape.
I was actually going to kind of compare it to, and I really don't remember if it went that deep, but um, I kind of compared it to the Major Figures Beanie Siegel beef back in like the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
Philly knew about it.
right,
The area knew about it, but not you wouldn't have known about it in Texas. You wouldn't have known about it in Atlanta. You wouldn't have known about it in LA unless you followed that scene.
right. And
So
back then we didn't have the emergence of social media. We didn't have the avenues that we do now, where everything is everywhere in a matter of minutes.
So I want to go to some of the comments that we have here that are actually coming in from my Facebook page. Victor
Okay.
Kent, who we had on the New Twist show a couple of times. He was saying
Vic,
that
what up?
um, he's saying that the narrative, it's a false narrative that Gucci was playing checkers. He says Gucci was playing chess as well. He said
Well,
he has
that can be your opinion. I mean, it's just
right.
my view on it. So
But
I
let,
get,
but
I
let me continue. He said he has Gucci has 5 more top 10 hits than Jeezy, which I didn't know that. But are they?
I wouldn't be
I
able
would
to.
want to
I
ask him.
wouldn't be able to name them.
I probably wouldn't either. But I would want to ask him:
His hits.
Are they Gucci songs or are they songs he was on? So let me know that. He also said the comparison would be Gilly versus Wayne.
Huh?
And here's the reason I was going to say Gilly and Wayne. I really was, but here's the reason I didn't, because I was recently watching a video with Gilly, and I don't know if he was just controlling the traffic or what, but he said the whole thing with Wayne was a miscommunication.
Okay.
That was his words. That's from his mouth on the interview he did recently. I think he did it on I think it was Drink Champs. It was either Drink Champs or it was his. I think it was Drink Champs, where he said it was a miscommunication. Where whatever the case may be, y'all can look that up if y'all want. I ain't gonna go into it, but you know, that's what Victor Kent said the comparison would be. I wouldn't compare it to that, but I guess we gotta move on. Y'all can leave your comments in the page. And you'll see them there. Also, you can go to the YouTube channel and comment. We'll see you right there. Go over to YouTube, New Twist Radio YouTube page. You can comment. You can watch us right there. We're on live right there as well. It's time for us to move on to the Fresh Prince of Bel Air reunion 30th anniversary show. There was something about that show that you wanted to bring up personally that you wouldn't tell me, which I'm cool with. But you was like, you got to watch it before we do the show. So I watched it just recently. Leon asked for my login so he could watch it. So
if you got AT&T, go get it for free. Get it for free.
Vic Kent said he's calling me after we're done. I must be in trouble. I must be in trouble. You know what I mean? I'm almost 40, so you know, it is what it is. That's my man though. The anniversary show. There was something specific you wanted to bring up by it. I'm giving you the floor.
So you know, and it's a perfect lead in to the coming together of Gucci and Jeezy. Jeezy extending that olive branch. I wanted to talk about that reunion and the olive branch extended by Will Smith to Janet Hubert, because I think that was huge in that healing process for them, because he effectively ruined her career. And it was never super public as to, well, damn, you got a dark-skinned mom on the show one day, and then you turn the channel and it comes back on, and it's a whole nother mom. And it's like, hey, not only do you have a new mom, you got a different mom, you got a new baby, Nikki. You got it, the whole dynamic changed, and it was like, hold on, where did all this come from? What happened?
So let's go back to when that actually happened years back in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
They did the right thing. And I'm not talking about firing Jan, or she didn't get fired. She didn't re-sign her contract.
Right.
I'm not talking about that was the right thing. When they bought in Daphne Maxwell Reid,
yes,
and it was boom, all of a sudden we got a new Aunt Viv. And everybody saw it was like, who is that? And it was Aunt Viv. They did the right thing as a TV show. And if I was producing and writing the TV show, I'd have did the same thing. Jazz came in and he said, there's something different about you. I remember it to this day. He was like, I can't put there's something different about you. I can't put my finger on it. And it was just like, that was the introduction of the new Aunt Viv. And it was like, they acknowledged it. They know it was there. They're not trying to sneak it past us. They acknowledged it. Boom.
Yeah.
We got a new Aunt Viv. Deal with it. It's what it is. I mean, as a kid, you know, I didn't know all what was going on, but as a kid, I'm like, all right, well, when's the other Aunt Viv coming back? Maybe it's a dream. I didn't know what it was. But what I didn't know, like I've seen videos of Janet Hubert saying what she was saying about Will Smith and all like that. But what I never saw was Will Smith even reacting or having something to say, even though he had some things to say. They weren't as big as as Janet's comments, because Janet's comments were very derogatory and it brings in the more attention.
Right.
Being the accomplished artist that she is, I was surprised she didn't get more work after, because she's so accomplished. But what she said in the reunion show made sense to me. She's a dark-skinned woman, and he had put the word out there, she's difficult to work with. At that time, dark-skinned women were very rare on TV.
On anything.
Only other dark-skinned woman I can really think of, like dark-skinned woman, was Kimberly Reese from Charlene Brown from. I mean, I know there's more, but that's the one that comes to mind at that time. Charlene Brown from A Different World.
Kimberly so there were only two that I could even think of, and it was her. And it was, what is her name? And now I'm doing
Arnold, maybe Pam, but she wasn't the main. She was the side. She was the side kick to
Erica Alexander.
Erica Alexander. She was on Cosby and Living Single. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
She
was also not the main.
Right.
In either one of those situations, actually, but in Living Single, she kind of became the story.
Yeah. She was a focal point over time.
Absolutely.
And interestingly enough, they made her character be a difficult Black woman. Like she was a difficult Black woman as the character. It was something that Janet Hubert said, where she said, when I auditioned, I didn't think I was going to get the role because there was absolutely no dark-skinned women in prominent roles like that at that time. So she didn't even think she had a shot.
And that's crazy. That's crazy to think of today. Like, I mean,
Right.
I'm sure that still exists at some point. Like, I was actually
Yeah.
watching a show the other day. I don't know if you ever saw it or heard of it. I actually just stumbled across it a couple months ago. It's called Bob and Abishola,
Oh yeah.
and and there's a dark skinned woman in that as a main character.
Yeah.
But that's very rare. It's very rare unless you are somebody that's very known. Like, I feel like at this point, Tashina Arnold is known
Right.
enough to get a role, right? To be considered for a role, and maybe not even have to audition for a role. Regina King, I don't know if people consider Regina King dark skin or not, but I mean, I'm not here to talk about that. It's the whole idea of Will Smith saying what he said basically kind of ruined her life, really,
Yeah.
because her career was, I mean,
Uh,
that could have been like the biggest thing of her career. Like, she's still,
I mean, it
like, my wife
was
and I
the
were talking, like,
biggest.
she was the better Aunt Viv, right? Because she had more of
Right.
a role. She had more of
Right.
a role, and that, like, who knows what that show would have been for the next 3 or 4 years, whatever it was, had she
Another.
stayed on there.
Yeah, because she at the end of season 3,
Mm-hmm.
she was gone, and then it was the other Aunt Viv
Mm-hmm.
from seasons 4, 5, and 6.
Right, right,
So they were
and
split right down the middle.
and I actually heard interview on the radio this week, and actually she mentioned it on the thing. They asked her to be in the show originally, and she turned it down. Talking about Daphne Maxwell
Right.
Reid,
And she
turned it
said
down.
it on the
Yeah,
reunion. She was like,
yeah.
when they asked me to audition for a show with this rapper, I said no.
Now, mind you, she was just coming off of A Different World at the time too.
Right.
So, or she was actually, was she finished with A Different World at the time? I think she was finished at the time.
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure she
I think
was.
she. Well, I don't know if the show was over. But she was finished at the time with A Different World. She said she had gotten to a place where she wasn't working. She was able to rest a little bit, and would have jumped right into that show. And she didn't. It was a rapper. She didn't believe in the concept of the show.
Right.
She said she saw the show and was like, "Oh, this is great." But you wanted to bring up the whole healing process. I thought it was great, personally. I
Yeah.
thought it was great.
I mean, it was very interesting to see Will's reaction. Now, you know, 27 years later, and he was like, I truly didn't understand. As a young man at that point, he didn't have, daughters of his own. He didn't have a family to support, so he didn't understand where she was in her life. And then, she also owned some of that, saying, "Hey, I had everything going on in my life, and I didn't communicate any of that with you guys, so you guys had no way of knowing what was
But
going on."
I put more on Will than I do her.
Oh, of course.
Because she's going through what she's going through in her life, but she doesn't have to share that. Why? I mean,
I think to an extent you do.
no, you really don't. I mean, you know what? Maybe you have to share it with certain people, but it's not like, from what I took from it. From what I took from it, she wasn't necessarily, didn't seem like she was coming off as difficult to work with. Outside of the point, she wasn't talking to anybody, and maybe that's what made it seem like she was difficult to work with.
Right,
She was going
because
through some stuff, and it's not like, I mean, they didn't say anything about somebody coming to her saying, "Look, people are finding you difficult to work with. What's going on?"
right,
It wasn't none of that. It was, you do your thing, you come out, do your scenes, go back. Once you're done, you're done. They offered her a contract. She didn't like it, whatever the case may be. She decided not to sign it, and she was gone.
and I think from a business standpoint, that would be like, you and I. How long have you and I jointly been in radio? What, 16 years? 17 years, maybe. And I'm going
together.
back to
You going
us
way
doing
back.
stuff at the shore.
Because I've been 21.
So I mean,
So,
and you got me involved back at the radio station at the shore.
mhm.
And I mean, that was what, 03?
Oh
Some
two, I think.
02, oh
Oh,
three.
oh,
So
one, something.
we got 17, 18 years in this.
Right.
We have a chemistry working together. You know my family, I know your family.
Mm.
Now, there was if we had another character involved in the show and they don't interact with us other than, hey, I'm coming in for my segment, I don't really want nothing to do with y'all. But at the beginning, there was that vibe. Because remember, they all operated like a family. And that's what really was so interesting about everybody's dynamic, is they all became those family members for each other. And then going into that stage, year 3, where she outcast herself, that could potentially ruin a dynamic across everybody else.
Oh, and I'm sure it did. I'm
And
sure it did.
but I don't think that, obviously looking back at it, not being involved in it, I can say that Will's actions were fair on her behalf, because it wasn't. But not understanding the power that you have over somebody's career. And when you think about everybody other than Will Smith that was involved in the show, this is the biggest thing. That 6-year run was their biggest career opportunities. I can't look at anybody else on that show and say they were bigger than their role on Fresh Prince than they were in something else. When we're looking at it from
Right.
that
I mean,
TV
from
standpoint,
the grand scheme of things,
right?
from where we are.
I
One
mean,
thing.
like James Avery is. I mean, he was a legend before
Before he got on the
Fresh
Fresh Prince,
Prince,
and he was the voice of Shredder in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
right?
Which, if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know that. You know what I
A lot.
mean? Like
I
that's
was
not
gonna
like
say
that
there's
was
a
like
lot of
big
people
thing.
that don't know that.
Right. And it was like when I found out, I was like, oh wow. And then I was like, yeah, I guess that was him. James Avery on Teenage Mutant as Shredder. That's kind of funny to know that.
Little known fact.
Little known fact. And Grandpa
That's a,
Huxtable was Panthro in Thundercat. I just want to put
those
that
is
out.
those is Jeopardy questions. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek.
Yeah, right. Um, I think it's time to move on to the You Big Dummy, the dummy of the day. You big the Big Dummy Award. And you got this one.
Now, see, I almost feel like
Actually, we
I
kind of
want
came
to
up with it together, I guess.
I want to say you actually led into it to me, and then I say, hey, he actually needs to be the big dummy. But I really feel like it needs to be Big Dumb Family.
Big dumb fan. That would be a first.
Big Dumb Family Award. Like
That would be a first.
this has got to be a joint award. This has got to be a joint award.
Well,
And
if you make it a joint award, then it's got to be more than them. It's got to be
well,
more than that family.
it's a lot of dummies, but these are the two that are in the spotlight, and they just happen to be married to each other.
As a married couple, yeah, they
you got to be
when the other ones the husband didn't know anything. At least
right. He was like, hey,
he
look,
know nothing about it.
He threw his hands up. Was like, oh, lock that bitch up. I'm sorry.
Careful.
Yeah, look, I apologize to the FCC. I'll pay the fines.
FCC won't let me be. I'm sorry.
I'll pay the fines. I'll pay the fine. But the big dumb, and I want to get it out there now so people aren't like, what in the hell are they talking about? But the Big Dummy Award is Massimo Giannulli, who many don't know by name, but he is the husband of Lori Loughlin, Aunt Becky from Full House.
Full House. Not Aunt Becky from Roseanne. Aunt Becky from Full House.
But he is now going to jail for his role in the education scandal. Trying to falsify information to get his child into a university for secondary education. Uh, as a family, I mean, your mom goes to jail, your father goes to jail for lying and paying, bribery to try to get you into post-secondary education. I don't know.
Can I just say this?
Go ahead.
This
Go
is
ahead.
not going to be a popular opinion, but that's why I love doing this stuff, because I love saying the things that get under people's skin.
Intelligent ignorance, baby.
There is a piece of me. There is a piece of me that really doesn't mind what they did. There's a piece of me that I get it. They took opportunity from somebody else. They didn't earn it. They didn't deserve it. A lot of people out here I get all that, but there's a piece of me that, you know what, they played their card. I mean, they got caught. I'm sure they're not the first ones to do it.
Of
They
course
played
not.
their cards. They played the game. They got caught, but they had their money in the right spot.
Well, one, it goes to show that you've got to pay to play. To
Absolutely.
at It's all about the money. So one, the real big dummy in all of this, and I know it might be unpopular to say, the real big dummy in this is their daughter. How dumb are you? And I'm not. Let me rephrase that.
I say she's an opportunist.
Your parents have absolutely no belief in you whatsoever.
Hold on, because we've said that before. We've said that before on this show, and I thought about it. And you're right. You're right? But let's look at it like this. Your parents, they don't have to have the belief in you that you're good enough to get in. They know you're not going to get in. That's why they did this, because they know you're not getting in.
So really, the kid is the big dummy. It's like, we know you
The kid's
can't
not
get
the
it.
big dummy. The
We
kid's
know
doing
you
what the
can't
parent.
get in.
The kid's doing what the parent is trying to get them to do. That's how I see it. The kid is doing what the parents tell them to do. They know they didn't get here, but see, here are the instances that bother me. The instances where there's a coach involved, that, let's say, the kid is going, I don't know, it was like weird stuff like water polo or some weird sports
Lacrosse,
that
water
the kid
polo.
never played. That's when I blame the kid. The kid never, you as a kid, you're getting a scholarship for a sport that you never played. Like, something ain't right. Something ain't right.
It's like,
But if you
hey,
go up in there and you knock out the education, and hey, it is what it is.
like, that would be like my son getting a scholarship to go play golf at UMES. Like, hey, what are you doing here? Like, how did I get this? That would have been my first question. How did the golf coach find me?
Right. But at the same time, like I said, I'm not really that mad at these people that did these things.
No, I'm not mad at them. I'm not,
Because I'm
and
sure
let
it
me
goes
be
on a
very
whole
clear.
lot more than just them people out there that did. I'm sure it probably goes on on every school in this country. I bet you somebody has paid to play.
Even
I hate to
down
say
to
it, but
our level. And I'm a high school baseball coach, you're a high school baseball coach. Even at our level, there are instances where somebody will say, my kid needs this for their college applications. I had a guy that I went to high school with. Not gonna mention his name. He was absolutely horrible. He was on the baseball team with me. Absolutely horrible. He ended up getting maybe about $20 million in scholarship money. Kid was a genius, flat out genius.
wow.
But he needed credentials for his college resume, so to speak. So he tried out for the basketball team. He ended up playing JV a year or two. He tried out for the baseball team. Obviously, I went to a predominantly African American inner city school. Baseball was not one of our top priorities. He made the baseball team. He was not a baseball player whatsoever, but he did end up getting a varsity letter for baseball because, he was trying to boost his resume. Now, his family owned local businesses. I'm not saying that he paid our coach or his family paid our coach. But I can tell you that I don't think that there would have been any other way that he would have ever touched a baseball field
Well,
in
did he
any program.
actually play?
He actually did play because that was the only. So, in high school, you don't get the varsity letter just for being on the team. You actually have to log playing time.
Right.
You can be on the roster for 4 years, but if you don't touch the field, you don't get a varsity letter.
Right.
So he did actually get enough time to get a varsity letter, which it shocked me because we had 9 other guys that, would have hands down played over him. So how he got playing time was completely beyond me.
Definitely might have been some type of.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So even at our level, like the high school level, it does happen. So it's not like this is so far fetched that where it's just rich people trying to get their kids into universities. But my thing is, when I'm paying millions of dollars for my high school, I may as well put that money in. One, I could have already paid the tuition. So tuition to a prominent 4-year university,
and that's
not what cost me.
That's what bothered me about the college scandal and all them scandals. Right. See, that's the part about like a lot of it. Like I said, done by they could have just paid for it. All the money that they end up putting out to the coaches, the president, they could have just paid for the tuition.
Paid tuition.
But I think what the problem is, they had to get accepted to the school. And they didn't have the education chops to get into the school.
So
plain and simple, just like that.
But when you don't have education, like for one, and just as well as I know as a coach, if I'm going to get a scholarship for athletics, I still have to pass the minimum SAT requirements to get my clearinghouse.
Right.
So
they had people take the SATs from them too.
Well, I know, but even still, you still have to have a minimum GPA in high school. Like you can't be a
here's the thing. Hold on, but wait a minute. So here's the thing. They probably didn't go through a clearinghouse because they had no intentions on playing the sport. So what would be the point of going through the clearinghouse? They just let their eligibility run out. They go and get their education, and they good.
But I believe you have to go through the clearinghouse if you're on an athletic scholarship. Like, you can't be awarded an athletic scholarship with not having cleared.
You're probably right. I myself did not get a scholarship, so I don't
know. Some of us privileged
some people
kids
got scholarships. I got money after I was already there, but I didn't get any money going. Well, I didn't plan on playing anything. Some
of us privileged kids. Thank you, Kirkland J. Hall. I appreciate you for helping my life.
Hey, Coach Hall changed my life. It is what it is.
A little soldier.
I can't. Coach Hall changed my life. But and in turn, I didn't go through the clearinghouse because I had no intentions on playing any sport whatsoever when I went to college. No intentions at all. And that changed, and I ended up losing my last year eligibility because I didn't go through the clearinghouse, which is why I encourage every kid that I coach, even if you don't plan on playing, go through the clearinghouse.
You have to do the process.
Do the clearinghouse. So, but with all that being said, man, I don't even know how to say his name. What is it? Gianni Mussolini.
Massimo
Giuliani. Giannulli. Yeah.
Just say Aunt Becky's husband.
Well, if you haven't checked it out, man, he shaved his head and grew out a beard to prepare himself for a look of going into prison.
For prison life.
So people won't mess with him.
He looks like a pedophile. He looks like he's going to get taken advantage of in jail.
He don't look like Schillinger from Oz.
Nah, he definitely. He
don't look like Beach, though. So I don't know who he look like. He like Hulk Hogan without the muscles and the bandana. But look, we gonna get up out of here, man. We was only supposed to be here for like 30 minutes, and of course we just kept it going.
Hey, this is what we do.
But if you want to be a step ahead of everybody else, make sure you text our community. Join our community 215-486-0335 to be the first to know about giveaways, contests, content, updates, all types of things. Once again, I'm gonna give you that number 215-486-0335. Text that number right now. Give it to a friend. Tell them to text the number 2 and save the number as New Twist Radio because we will be getting back to you. All right.
Yes, sir.
With all that being said, thank you again for listening, for checking us out. Come back here on the New Twist Radio YouTube channel tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. You have the live airing of the 10-7 show with Tyra Goose and myself, Straight Relationship Talk. No chaser. Last week we had all men's night. R. Dot was with us. B Laws was with us, and Goose was actually checking us out earlier. I meant to read his comment, but it is what it is. Follow him at R. Hunter. Follow me at J Watson Radio Man. Follow New Twist Radio at New Twist Radio, and of course, like you see up there at the top, up top here, was it here? Up there. You can check out all our shows at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, all that good stuff. That's 10-7, Intelligent Ignorance. Let's Not Argue, and more. All right. So for R. Hunter and myself, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all for loving us. Well, we will check y'all out next time. I promise. We'll be right here.